Hey Josh, it's Professor Sebastian. I just wanted to make a quick video and give you a little feedback on your first exam here in Precalc. Um, so you did pretty good. Let me, I'll talk to you more about how I review the exam as I go through this, but I don't want you to see that. Hold on just a second. Let me come back here. You don't need to see everyone else's grades. I just want to review your exam. So I'm in my math lab gradebook and I'm going to look through your exam here with you, but I just wanted to point out that before I reviewed your exam, you had a 17.92 out of 30 for a score of 59.72, but almost raised it 20 points, 20 percentage points after my review because I was able to find quite a bit of partial credit. You're now at 23.13 out of 30, which is 77.09%. That actually gives you an overall grade in the course right now of 79.56%, which is just over the line for a B minus as a worst case scenario. So, you're doing pretty good. Just want to get into a good routine here and keep getting better, okay? So, first of all, when you do your work, I don't mind you jumping around to different problems like this. I would just ask that you give me a little bit more room to give you some feedback, all right, and to find that partial credit. So, kind of go in order and skip a couple lines between each problem. So in case I need to, not in order in a sense of on the numbers wise, but I mean, don't jam them all up there with 3 or 4 on the same line, that kind of thing, okay? Because it's really hard for me to give you feedback that you can understand that way. All right, so looking at your exam, so as we were going through this, first of all, I will say that there just was not much I could do here. Did not answer nor have work for me to see what you were thinking on problems 19, 22, and 29. And these were problems where I couldn't really guess what you were thinking, which I do. I'm able to kind of see what you're thinking based on some answers sometimes when I don't see work, but on those I just couldn't do anything. So we'll skip over those. But so when you first took this, looks like, let's see, 1, 2, and 3, since this is out of order, I'm trying to find, first one looks like you got 2 was 4 here. Last page, you got 18, 20, and 21. So it looks like 1, 2, and 3 were all correct on your own. And then when you get to number 4, so you missed this f of minus x here. You knew how to plug in minus 7, you knew how to plug in x plus 2, but when you plug in minus x, you got something weird. But then when I go to look here at number 4, that's not number 4. Where is number 4? Right here. Number 4 is right here. You really never, this is where you're figuring out f of x plus 2. You never did any work for me to show me what f of minus x would be. So I showed it for you right here, but I can't increase that score because you didn't show me what you were doing there. Question 5, you didn't have anything for me, but if you look at part C, it's really half correct. You got the 4 to infinity, so I'm assuming you realize that that was constant, but you didn't get this part from minus infinity over to 0 as being a constant as well. So must have missed that somehow, but bottom line is I could see where I could increase your score here. I gave you half of the credit for that problem, that third portion of it, so it went from 0.67 to 0.84. All right, problem 6. Problem 6 here, there's kind of a bit going on here. A and B, I gave you the benefit of the doubt a little bit because this graph is just, it's hard to know if you should include points or not. So the domain is minus infinity to 4.5. It's a little bit beyond 4. You include it, you put 4 and then you didn't include 4 by putting in parentheses. So I mean I probably shouldn't totally count that as correct, but again, since it's close, that's okay. And then minus infinity to 4 for the range. So I don't know if you thought it went up to 4.5 or you're actually putting the domain and range backward. Might have been putting the domain and range backwards, but I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt here. Range is y values, right? So it goes from minus infinity, and then the highest it goes is 4. Domain is x values, so it goes from minus infinity, and the farthest x it goes is this 4.5 here. Okay, so that's really how to do those. In part G here, let's see, it's also partially correct. If you look at yours, You have minus infinity to minus 2.5, but you didn't include 2.5. So this is for intervals where the function is negative or 0. So it's negative here, and it gets to be 0 right here. So that's right at 2.5. So we should include that. And then right at 4.5 only. So in union just with that 1 point. So you missed that point. But I was able to increase your score here on number 6 from 0.58 to 0.85 because you were close and it seemed like you had the idea on a lot of those. Number 7, again, you didn't have any work. Point slope form. It's weird because usually you get the point slope form first and then turn it into the slope intercept form when you're given this information. So I'm not sure what happened here. Although, let me see, was there something on that front page? Yeah, there was right here. You actually had the point slope form correct right here. So I don't know why that didn't go in there unless you just don't know or didn't know that that's the point slope form. So I did give you credit for that because it's on the first page there. On the first page you had it. So I increased your score from 0.5 to 0.95 out of 1. And let's see, 8 and 9 were correct. 10, I couldn't increase your score here on 10. Now you have the point slope form correct this time. But then the easiest way to get the equation in general form is just multiply everything by this 7. So you get 7y minus 63 equals 6x plus 42. So that's what I have right here for you. And then just write it as 7y minus 6x minus 105 equals 0. Most people like to write the general form as ax plus by plus c equals 0 and have the coefficient of x be positive. So you just multiply through by -1 here and switch these guys around. That's all you're doing. But these are the same equation essentially. So this is what they mean by general form. And you put in nothing at that point. So I really couldn't increase score and I didn't see any work if you knew where that was going to even. All right, so that's 10. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, all look good. If I'm over here, let's see. So this was 14. You actually had it right. You had a minus sign correct here, but it wasn't on the problem in 14, so that went up to a 1. This is 15. Again, you had the correct inverse function. So when I go, so 14, you put in a minus sign. You put in a plus sign here, but it's minus, and you had that correct. 15, this is correct. So that is, if you divide both things by 2, you get x over 2 minus 2 over 2, which is x over 2 minus 1. And that's exactly what you had. So I guess well, you shouldn't have this y equals. All right. It's f inverse. That's what it is. That's what the y represents. It's the inverse function, but that's okay. You had x over 2 minus 1, so I gave you credit for that. Let's see, 16. 16, I didn't see any work for 16 right here. I did increase the score from 0 to 0.5 because I felt like when I was looking at what you did, I was kind of trying to guess what's in your head. It seemed to me that you understood the inverse function should be symmetric with respect to the line y equals x, but this one you chose is not quite symmetric to y equals x. This is the correct one that's symmetric to y equals x. Y equals x would not pass right through the middle of this like you have it shown. It would be like this way. So you just had the wrong one there. But I increased your score from 0 to 0.5 because it's silly that you picked one that looked like you knew what you were doing with the symmetric with respect to y equals x, but it wasn't correct. 17. Let's see, did you have 17? It's hard for me to find these and they're out of order. So 17's up here. So you knew to switch the x and the y. Am I on it? Let me get on it here. Yeah, you knew to switch the x and the y here to find the inverse. So that's what you were doing. But then you didn't solve for y. I think you got confused. You tried to square this y out here, and then that doesn't help you to solve for y. So just take the square root of both sides. Now, it could be plus or minus the square root of x. I know it becomes the minus square root of x in this case because it has to be symmetric with respect to the line y equals x. So that's how you have to know that. All right, so then let's see, 18 is fine. And you had those on the second page. 18, 20, and 21 you got correct through my, no, not correct. 18, It is now 100% correct because you had the right answer. It's the square root of 32, but if that simplifies, 32 is 16 times 2, and then the square root of 16 is 4, so it's 4 square root of 2, but you still had the right answer. So I increased it from 0.5 to 1. 19, I don't think you did any, yeah, 19, 22, and 29, you had nothing, and you need to understand what a circle is, the general equation for a circle and all that kind of stuff, what the radius is, what the center is. Once you have the equation for the circle, how do I get from this form to the equation of the circle in standard form? It's called completing the square. So you need to make sure you go back and look at those notes, have them walk you through this or something. Okay, you need to work on that. Same with 22 and 29 when you get to them. I won't look at those. All right, 23. 23 is this guy. So I did increase your score from 0.25 to 0.5. So what you have to do with 23 here is you got to be able to pick the right graph. Now you pick the right graph, which I'm guessing you just put this in your calculator to see what it looks like. But to actually pick the right graph, the best way to do this is to complete the square. So you put x squared plus 16x by itself, take half of 16, which is 8, and square it. That means you add 64. But I can't change the problem. So that means I also have to subtract 56 because 64 minus 56 is 8. So that doesn't change the problem. But when I combine these three terms together by completing the square, that's now a perfect square. So it's x plus 8 quantity squared. That tells me that the vertex is at -8, -56. So it's x minus h squared minus k. And hk is your vertex. So it's at -8, -56. That's why this is the correct one. Then the axis of symmetry means what axis is it symmetric about? That's the line x equals -8, where the vertex is. The domain of a parabola is always minus infinity to infinity. You can plug any value of x into a parabola that you want. And then the range, well, it goes from the smallest value of y is -56 out to positive infinity. So a little bit of work. It felt like you kind of knew you needed to complete the square, weren't sure what to do maybe. Couldn't quite tell, but you did have the right graph. And when I looked at your answers here, you didn't answer nothing there. You answered the range almost. It would be -56 to infinity. And you put the domain here. I think you got your domain of ranges backwards again. Okay, 24. The hell's 24? We got to finish this video here in a minute. 24 is not there. Where's 24? Is it on the front? Yeah, right here. So I increased your score from 0.6 to 0.8 because, again, I think you were reversing the domain and range on both of these, and that's what I did. I increased both of these scores because of that. All right, 25. You actually show that there's a multiplicity of 2 here, right? You had x minus 15 times x minus 15. That would be x minus 15 quantity squared. That gives me a multiplicity of 2. Once I know I have an even multiplicity, I know that that graph will not cross the x-axis. It will touch the x-axis and turn around at that x equals 15. Since 0 has a multiplicity of 1, then it will go through the x-axis. 27. So long division, right in here, you had placeholders good for your denominator. You didn't put your placeholders in here, and I think it kind of started to mess you up. Remember, put in 0, like you put in 0x here, you should also put in 0x and a plus 0 for the constant term for the numerator. Then you get everything to work out fine. You can look at it and make sure. But I did increase your score from 0.5 to 0.85 because I could tell that you understood how to do long division pretty good. And then, let's see, 28 was, where's 28? Right here, synthetic division. Again, you didn't put a placeholder in. Notice that there's no x to the fourth term in the denominator, so you should have put a placeholder in of 0 for the 0x to the fourth right here, and then everything would be, it's different. You can look at it. You had the right idea, though. So I increased you from 0 to 0.67. Okay, and then 29, I don't think, yeah, that was another one you didn't do anything about. So take a look at that, and if you could see that again, so you should figure that out and ask me if you don't understand it, okay? All right, that's it. Take care. Hope to talk to you soon. Bye.